Headline of this particular article in the Financial Post points out the obvious for anyone that pays attention, or those that actually want to function inside the real world and understanding objective reasoning, logic, and economic fundamentals, mathematical equations, and there's between subjective bullshit and objective reality. Hey, Vancouver homeowners, the good news is you're all millionaires. The bad news, you're all millionaires. So just like whether it was, modern day Venezuela or Brazil or, the list goes on. But let's use the ones that most people understand because they've been propagated throughout history, basically. Your modern history is, the Weimar Republic, hyperinflation, Britain when they had to go back to using tally sticks or some other measures because of massive overinflation. Or, the list is a long one. Hey, Zimbabwe, right? In Zimbabwe for a long stretch, or not super long, but for a certain finite period of time in Zimbabwe, you were a trillionaire. Even the lowest of the low, average Zimbabwean, they were trillionaires. Because their central planners, their government, printed money to try to create wealth, like printing paper fiat currencies as a means to create wealth. Well, you've seen what happened. Yeah, sure. Yep, in Zimbabwe, by doing so, you could create the illusion that Zimbabweans were millionaires, billionaires, and trillionaires. But when a loaf of bread costs $1 trillion, does being a trillionaire really make a whole lot of sense? Does being a trillionaire really make you rich? No, of course it doesn't. Of course it fucking doesn't. And this is what Canada now, and if we don't stave off and completely stop this fucking bullshit central planning narrative that inflation is wonderful, right? But that's the thing. Anyways, I don't want to dig too much into the economics regarding wage inflation, price inflation, monetary inflation, but yeah. To be a millionaire in Vancouver today, have you seen some of the articles? You can look Financial Post, National Post, CBC, Globe and Mail. You'll even see pictures of, like there was one, I believe it was the CBC, where they showed a picture of a house that cost $2.4 million. And as someone that has lived in big major urban centers and rural communities where you had people that lived in just abstract poverty in homes that I lived in places in New Brunswick where if you go far enough back in the woods, you could find a little rundown shack for like $10,000. But you know what? If you could transplant that little rundown shack, maybe 800-900 square foot, even 1,200 square foot, but just a rundown piece of shit shack, if you could get a powerful or a heavy enough helicopter to lift that home and transplant that in some area, some landmass within the Vancouver region, the greater Vancouver region, all of a sudden that house, look, the magic of inflation, right? All of a sudden that house, of speculative inflation, I should say, all of a sudden that house is worth practically $2.5 million. Well, an objective mind, someone that actually understands and grasps reality and the concept of what a real tangible value, what the representation of a real tangible value is, well, that fucking house is still the same rundown piece of shit, and it ain't worth $2.4 million just because it happens to be in a different parcel of land. It's all subjective. Yes, some idiot might buy it, but usually it's not your regular Joe. It's some foreign investor that's just looking to gain and benefit from that speculation, that speculative market, so that they can flip and turn that over and sell to someone else at a higher valuation and reap the rewards and dividends and profits that came as a result of that. But that's, I mean, think about it. Think of the waste. Think of there's nothing that was tangibly created. You know, it's just magic. It's just more fictional bullshit. More Keynesianism, more economic central planning that completely distorts the reality of how valuations should exist in a true free market. That's what we're talking about here. These fucking houses, I mean, some of them pieces of shit for like $5 million. Well, if you live in Vancouver and you're fucking stupid enough to spend $2, $3, $4, $5 million on these shitholes, yeah, well, don't be too fucking butthurt or sad. Don't off yourself, although I can understand why you might want to, when you realize that, oh shit, I overpaid to the tune of 1,000 times more than what I should have, or whatever, right? If you were stupid enough to do so because you believed in the central planner's narrative, or your fucking real estate, your snake oil salesman, right? That lives off of this speculative market of bullshit, of propaganda. Yeah, don't get butthurt when you realize that, yeah, all they did was bend you over, and you know what? They didn't even have the decency to lube up. They didn't even spit on their wrist, their fucking hand. They just stuck it in and dry humped you. Well, so, yeah, if you get hurt because you were stupid enough to bend over and let these fucking real estate fucks dry hump you, well, natural forces and the market is going to prove to you every time, not on purpose, just naturally, just as natural as breathing, you will be proven to show you how fucking stupid you are. Because the market has that capacity, has that ability. And you will see it at some point in time in the future. The central planners, the collectivists, they probably realize this, but they don't want to tell you the honest truth. They want to still function and live inside that paradigm, because some of them, I mean, think about it, in Vancouver. If the people believed their houses were really worth that much and they all started selling them to cash in on that, well, how much would the houses be worth once everyone starts selling them? That prices, those valuations are going to drop off like they're on a fucking cliff on one of those newest fancy roller coasters that head down like so fucking quick and so fast at such a degree, right? Be smart, Canada. Vancouverites, Torontonians, people live in Montreal, all these big urban centers. Stop fucking paying these ridiculously overinflated fucking prices. You're the ones going to get fucked. Your central planners might stroke you in the meantime. Say, no, don't worry, but it's not going to happen. You're the ones going to be stuck with the bill, not your central planner. You're not going to be able to say, hey, you promised me later. Because they ain't got no fucking money. They're not going to bail you out. They might look to fucking use theft or coercion or force to steal from others to bail your stupid shit out. But they're going to run out of people to steal from here soon. Trust me. Be wise. Wise up. Stop falling for this shit. I wouldn't buy a fucking house in this market now even if someone fucking threw $3 million at me and just it landed on my lap tomorrow. You think I'd be stupid enough to spend it on this shit? No fucking way. No fucking way. I'm much smarter than that. I'm much smarter than the average bear. Much smarter, apparently, than the average Vancouverite or Torontonian. Right? Anyways, be smart out there. Stop falling for this shit. Don't lose your shirt, pants, and fucking underwear all just because you want to believe these central planners. The snake oil salesman. Don't give them the benefit of being able to laugh all the way to the bank at your expense. Skinny libertarian. You know I love liberty.